Good morning. This is Dylan Jovine with Behind the Markets. Happy Wednesday. Today's Wednesday, October 22nd. And today I'd like to talk about rare diseases. Again, part of Trump's big, beautiful bill, July 4th, that was passed, is this provision that really speaks to rare diseases and orphan drugs. It's a very, very big deal. And to understand why it's a big deal, I wrote some notes here. Okay, this is a very big deal. First of all, 80 to 90% of all known diseases are considered rare diseases. That's just the bottom line. There are estimated 10,000 diseases known worldwide, and about 7,000 to 8,000 of them are considered rare disease. And in the US, a rare disease is defined under the Orphan Drug Act, which we're talking about right now, that you passed just this July, just a few months back. It has to affect fewer than 200,000 Americans nationwide. Now, collectively, these rare diseases affect between 25 and 30 million people, or 1 in 10, basically. And it's globally even bigger than that. Of course, it's 300 to 400 million, 4 to 5% of the world's total population. But I wrote some notes here, and this is why I think this is such a big deal and why you've seen money start to move into the biotech sector. Remember, I said to you recently, the biotech sector, the drug sector, is the cheapest sector in the market. It's just been completely obliterated the past few months since the election, especially. And now you're starting to see money come back into it. And this is a huge reason why. And to understand why this is such a big deal, why this is going to have such a big impact on these stocks, you got to understand a couple things. First, a little bit of a business history lesson. There are two types of ways to make money in business. Let's say Apple versus Microsoft. Microsoft takes this wide strategy, selling basically software for a cheap price to mass market. Then you look at Apple. Apple has more of a niche strategy. So in the Microsoft strategy, when you capture the mass of the market, you tend to have lower prices. In the Apple strategy, you capture a niche of the market and you tend to charge higher prices, specialization strategy. And you look at this with the iPhone versus the Android. Again, the iPhone, believe it or not, has about 30% of the market, but they're able to charge higher prices for what's considered to be a premium product versus the Android, which is more mass market, lower prices. The same thing with Microsoft Windows that we all know and love and remember growing up with. Those are the two strategies. And it's very similar with this orphan drug opportunity, okay? The orphan drug opportunity has the similar kind of opportunity that you're seeing here with Apple. Smaller market size, higher prices. That means a big deal. And with the Orphan Drug Act that President Trump pushed through as part of the big, beautiful bill has three major advantages. That's why money's starting to really run into this sector. So the law expands orphan drug exclusion so that these drugs are exempt from Medicare drug price negotiations. And that means that if you are a biotech company and you are starting and creating this drug, you think to yourself, gosh, this could be $1 billion drug. But my goodness, at some point, we're going to have to start negotiating with Medicare. And that's going to means instead of $1 billion drug, we have a $500 million drug. Actually removing this obstacle, the Medicare drug price negotiation regime from these orphan drugs, they get to capture the whole return on the investment, a lot bigger, a lot more of that return or that full $1 billion. That's great. It also extends the protection period. You think about the average drug has 7-year protection. This extends that. So it has more runway. It also allows the drug to be used, third and finally, for other kinds of things. Now, again, turn it basically one drug into a platform drug. So if the orphan drug works for this disease, you can get a higher return if you actually say it can work for this other disease too and actually prove that and get approved, so you get more protection. So basically what you're seeing here is that any company that makes orphan drugs, rare disease drugs, what they do is Trump's bill just gave them a higher return possibility for their investment. And that's why these stocks have been hammered for so long, because the return side was capped, meaning the investment side would be capped too. Money's not going to run into them. But now that we see that the return side is so much bigger, you're starting to see money, investors, come into these stocks. And just to give you an idea of the kinds of diseases we're talking about by category, genetic or inherited disorders, cystic fibrosis is considered a rare disease. Tay-Sachs is considered a rare disease. Muscular dystrophy. Autoimmune is in that category. Lupus. You think cancer, sarcomas, glioblastomas, certain leukemias, and rare solid tumors. Infectious diseases, hantavirus, certain fungal or tropical infections, other metabolic or degenerative disorders, ALS, Wilson's disease, mitochondrial disorders. So basically, what's really special, now here's where it gets super interesting. And this is where AI comes in. 80% of rare diseases have a genetic origin. So that's amazing. So AI is actually helping us understand and really combat those diseases a lot faster than anything else. Remember, before AI, these people, before this kind of processing, computational science processing, basically you had to have people sitting in a lab with codes, pouring a liquid into another beaker and on, and testing them and all this other stuff. Now, with AI, this is going to happen brute force much faster. This is why you're seeing money flood back into the biotech sector. This is why we're putting on this webinar tomorrow, because there are some rare disease companies that are really starting to benefit that are in our biotech portfolio. And we're going to actually break all this down for you in a big way on tomorrow's webinar. I look forward to having you there. Have a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday. I'll see you tomorrow.